Doing all right, Reed, how are you? We still have some pictures of my phone. Me too. I've been kind of busy, you never had more than about 30 meetings. I try to. Leave 3 meetings on the third. I try to have, Urban radio. Sometimes they should have, interference with they're trying to, so I get back, that's all they're doing.
75.
I have 35 people.
Okay, folks. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before we get started, just a couple of comments. One, that I would, unfortunately, I'm going to read part of this. It has to do with the demolition, and I really need both of the. So, can you hear? Hear now? Okay. So, this has to do with the demolition, and on one particular piece of property, we've had Mr. Martin Judson, who has tracked down, and basically I'm going to read to you this email. There is 2 different routes to go with this, and I will have Miss Cindy give you a copy of this so that y'all can look at it and decide which direction you want to go. This is mainly for the council to kind of weigh in on. The assessor assesses the property to a Nelson Miller as 100% owner. We have received information from a transfer of property out of the name of Nelson Miller. So the unopened estate or unopened succession of Nelson Miller is the owner of the property. The conveyance records reveal an affidavit filed in 91, signed by 15 people, all alleging to be heirs of Nelson Miller. The affidavit purports to grant Hershey Miller the right to live at 502 Railroad Avenue, the property with house in need of demolition. It also purports to grant a right to live at 500 Railroad Avenue to Hershey Nelson, a son, and Wilford Miller. And this is the email from Mr. Judson, and he's referencing it to me. Both Cindy and I have spoken to Hershey by phone. He has told us that the attached instrument was intended as a usufruct until Hershey, and that Hershey is more or less in control of the property. We made Hershey aware of the situation and of the need to clean the property. He was grateful for the free demolition. He further said that he would attempt to clean the property by the first week in October. That date is passed. Cindy sent a confirming email to Hershey. I also noticed that one of Hershey's sisters, Jeannie Rios, paid last year's taxes. I sent her a certified mail letter. Edward Rios signed for it on 9/18/25. She has not reached out to me. We also know that Wilford Miller is aware of these proceedings via Mayor's Court. In addition to the above, we know Cindy has sent out notices in the past per the Iowa City Code. We have a grant that pays for the demolition to condemn houses. We also need the property cleared somewhat so that the demolition contractor can get to the structures to demolish it. So that now the question is, do we have sufficient notice? So there is 6 points to one option that Mr. Judson has, and there's 4 points to the second. If y'all would like for me to, I can read those out to you, and you can get copies of them.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the conservative route, full unquestionable compliance with section 1181 of the city code, which mirrors Louisiana RS statute 334763, would suggest that one more condemnation hearing date before the city council is set. Number two, and this is Mark Judson, as curator for the absent landowners, receive notice from the city. Number three, I then make some meaningful, demonstrable effort to contact the heirs and send them notice of the new condemnation date before the city council, i.e. certified mail and legal ad in the American Press. The effort to reach them does not have to be super thorough, but minimally sufficient to be a decent effort. I report at the city council meeting my efforts to reach the owners. The council notes the efforts and hears from any who actually show up. Number five, it is likely that the council will then proceed with condemnation. And number six, the above should be allowed under 60 days in order to allow for a recent Mayor's Court code violation ruling regarding Wilford Miller. The second one is more pragmatic. It has 4 points. The city makes a business decision that the above is sufficient and that all who have actual interest in the property have actual notice. Number two, the cost of demolition is free to the landowner. The city is improving the landowner's property at no expense to the landowner. If any complain or threaten litigation, then city would demand perhaps countersue for the cost of the demolition. The delay in applying the legally conservative approach may be outweighed by the cost and convenience of having the contractor in place now and ready to move. Number four, the delay in applying the legally conservative approach is likely outweighed by the citizens and neighbors' long-awaited need for the property to be demolished. So, and I'll have Miss Cindy give y'all a copy of that, but I wanted y'all to be aware of it. I know this has gone on for quite some time, and it's 5 years now. And this is every time we get it back, it's just constant delays, whether it's within the family or we give them another 30 days. So we have to do something at some point with this so we can move on. Okay. So I just wanted to give that to you. Nothing we're going to do on it tonight, but that's something that I wanted all of you to hear. so that we could get that tended to. Another matter, just real quick. We had, Mr. Becknell and I have early on, so what was it, 2 years ago? We went to Ruston. Yeah. So we went to Ruston and we were looking at some of the things that they were doing up in Ruston. And we brought back an idea and we've been toying with this thing. And so I did want to let you know that we have, it's quite expensive to do this. And I wanted it open to the general public as well. There is, if you go through Ruston, I think you'll see some other examples throughout the state. They have the little bulldog. And so when you drive through Ruston, you see them at different locations. And they're painted up in special ways. Generally, the businesses will put those in front of their property. I believe, Chief, you have an alligator from Lake Charles, don't you? Is it tourism?
That was a fundraiser for the Lake Charles Symphony.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's something similar to that, and we were looking at that for some time, and I did get a quote in, and also a drawing, an image of the Highway Yellow Jacket. It's a pretty cool looking image. It's 4.5 foot tall. It's 3 foot by 4 foot around. So it's a really a neat deal, but I think the cost seems to be prohibitive unless we can get some business folks involved in it. But I think it would be a really good deal if we can maybe look at it and consider, maybe talk to some of the business folks in town and see if they'd be interested in it. And I'll try to get that information out.
Do you have a cost?
The mold, just to make the mold, is $7,500, but it belongs to the town of Iowa. So in other words, you just can't, they wouldn't just be able to put them out everywhere. And then each individual one is going to be about $4,500. I do.
We wanted to trademark the design, so.
That's what it is. That's the reason it's $7,500 for that mold. It's trademark.
And you said, and then, so we have the mold, so we would be responsible if they want to purchase one for making it, and then they take the one and says to clean it?
Well, if my understanding is the minimum on it is 5. You have to order 5 with this. So you're looking at a total of $30,000 between the mold.
Unpaid.
That's unpainted, correct. So it's something that if we can get some businesses involved in, I think would be really good, and we can replace our Yellow Jacket in the park. So, and it's made out of a fiberglass concrete type of deal, so it'll be there for a long time. All right, enough of the housekeeping, and we're going to get into our meeting. At this time, we're going to do a call to order and a roll call. Miss Julie.
Here.
Mr. Joe Becknell.
Here.
Miss Vanessa Guillory.
Here.
Mr. Daniel Hennigan. Here. Mr. Gerald Guidry.
Here.
And we do have a quorum. At this time, if y'all don't mind, if you'll stand with me, we're going to do our invocation, Mr. Joe Becknell, and then followed by the pledge.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Thank all of you for coming out this evening. Next thing that we have on our agenda is to adopt the agenda. I move to adopt the agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion carries. Next thing we have is an approval of minutes as submitted for regular meeting September 8th, 2025.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. First thing we have is we've got some special guests in the audience tonight. Mr. Dane Boland, Administrator of Calcasieu Parish. And if you'll come forward, and while I see Mr. Tony Stelly is here as well, so.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't take too much of your time. Before I start, I do want to say I went on your new website today. Outstanding. It really is. I don't know how new it is, but it's it's easy to work, and I found myself staying on there a lot longer than I thought it would be. So congratulations on that. I had the pleasure of working with some of you for over the years. It's always great to be in the IOA. A little bit about myself. I'm a graduate of Sam Houston High School. Out of high school, I joined the Navy. Spent 4 years in an aircraft carrier. Got back, joined the National Guard Army, and went to McNeese State University, where I graduated. And shortly thereafter, I got the opportunity to work for the police jury. They hired me, which was great. I was 22 years old, had a small child. She's grown now. I have 2 kids. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren, a wife of 38 years. Her name's Kathy. But I was appointed about 6 months ago to the role as parish administrator. It's an honor, and it continues to be that honor every day I wake up. I'm very fortunate. One of the things I promised I was going to do is to visit every city council meeting and just stop in and say hello. I've got no agenda. Just say, how's everybody doing in our way? And I want to kind of continue that, because I'll talk about relationships in a minute, and that matters. Relationships matter. I am very passionate about Calcasieu Parish. I know y'all are too. We are a community, a great community. But one thing that makes our parish strong is new ideas. And so tonight, you go home, or tomorrow, or eat lunch, you have a great idea you need to call Mr. Stelly about, or call me. I think, please give us a call. My phone number is 540-6773. We're very coachable. I think I feel that way on new ideas. And again, I'm very proud of creating relationships. And you'll hear a common theme as I go across the parish and visit, where I come drink coffee with you, we go to lunch. It is about that relationship. And I ask myself a couple questions when I think about that. How can the police jury build better relationships? And for instance, how can the police jury, Mr. Stelly here, and myself and the other 14 jurors, how can we make the relationship between the police jury and IOA strong? Because when it gets right down to it, if you talk about it as a parish road, a city road, a drainage issue, people don't care. All they want is their problem fixed. And so I love to visit on that. Again, if you have any ideas, please let me know. And how can we assist the city of IOA? That's a big question. You probably have some ideas now, but please call me, because I really want to hear from everyone. The better relationships we have, the more success stories we have. And we all know success is best when it's shared. And so I look forward to that. We have some current projects we're working on in the area, not just in our business area. And I want to mention a couple of them. First one is the detention pond. We call it the Ward 8 detention pond. Currently working on the design. Gordon Dennison road paving, Sunny Fontenot bridge replacement, Dennison Road, drainage improvements, some work we're doing at the pipes on Candace Lane, and some overlays that will be happening over the year in this area. And those are some of the success stories I want to share as we continue to move forward. Again, I had no agenda. I just wanted to come by and say hello. I appreciate what you do. I know it's a tough job. But I really appreciate it. And I would say thanks for the invite, but I invited myself. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I'm glad you came out, Mr. Boland. And Mr. Stelly.
Thank
you. Did you have anything you wanted to? No, sir. Okay. All right. At this time, we're going to do a report of finance with Cindy.
This is a report based on the end of September 30th, 2025. Beginning with our general fund. And if you look on page 10 of your report. Nope, that's not right either. 9. Our general fund, For the ending period of September, which is the third month of our fiscal year, for general fund, we will show a deficit of $117,902 for the month. Our year-to-date actual is a deficit of $501,403. This deficit is mainly due because of the insurance premiums that we paid. We don't pay it by the month. We pay it all at one time as an annual payment. Our revenues at this time of the year are low. We have not started receiving our property taxes, our occupational license, our beer renewals, things like that, certain revenues that come in on an annual basis. We do expect it to get better. Sales tax 1 is our general water improvement fund. On page 12, we have a deficit of $44,495 for the month of September. Our year-to-date actual is really good. Our year-to-date actual is $1,720,526. And the reason why it is so high is because we did receive a large sum from FEMA for our sewer pond, oxidation pond payment. Our park fund on page 15 shows a profit revenue over expenditures of $8,406 for the month of September. Our year-to-date actual is a net revenue over expenditures of $43,818. In our street department, on page 19, our street department shows a net revenue over our expenditures of $26,547. For our year-to-date actual in streets is a net revenue over expenditures of $74,879. Our sales tax 3 fund, as shown on page 23. No, I'm sorry, 22. Sales tax 3 mainly is our drainage, economic development, festivals, things like this, tourism. Our year-to-date, well, let me do September. September's is $29,201 net revenue over expenditures. And for year-to-date is $86,314 net revenue over expenditures. On Fund 18, we call it Fund 18, it's our LCDBG fund. And at this time, our grant fund is our demolition clearance program, which we have been working on for over 2 years. We finally are getting to the point where DEQ should be giving us our permits to demolish the homes that have to be abated within about 2 weeks. They were applied for last Friday, and it takes 10 business days to get that approval from DEQ. So we should be, after that time period, we'll start on the abatement for those houses. We will start on the I believe there's 5 or 6 houses that do not need to be abated. They will be done. I believe the contractor is setting his equipment out today. So they should be, within a couple of days, they'll be done.
Do those first.
Yes, ma'am. So in this fund, we did spend a little bit of money on $212 we spent. And that was on newspaper ads and stuff like that we had to pay. Other than that, that's it. On our water and sewer garbage fund, our utility fund, which shows our net revenue over expenditures for the month of September to be $40,203. Our year-to-date actual is net revenue over expenditures of $70,266. Are there any questions?
Just as a matter of information, I am encouraged by the numbers that we've received over the past 3 months. They have been higher than what we budgeted, which that's now a trend. We knew that first month, we looked at it and said, oh, we hope this keeps going. So as long as we can stay ahead of what we budgeted, we should be in pretty good shape by the end of the year. But there again, there's so many different things that can happen between now and then. I think we still look at that wait and see as to what's going to happen. I really think there's some good things that could happen with this stuff. So, all right. So next thing we have on our list is I'm making an announcement. It's a public notice. It's hereby given in compliance with Louisiana RS Statute 4219.1 that the town of Iowa, Louisiana will meet in open and public session on the 10th day of November, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the City Hall, 115 North Thompson Highway. Thompson, you got it backwards there, but that's okay. Iowa, Louisiana, to consider calling an election to be held in the town of Iowa, Louisiana on April 18, 2026, to consider renew and levy in perpetuity the 1% sales and use tax currently being collected for the following purposes. 1, maintenance and construction of streets, sidewalks and street lighting. 2 is maintenance and construction of sewage treatment facilities, systems, pumps, and sewer lines. And 3 is general, administrative, and general fund needs. So again, this is not a new tax. This is a renewal. And so we're going to try to get that on the April ballot for that. Okay, any questions? Number 4, we have a motion to approve resolution 2025-13, a resolution to declare property as surplus and assign to LPS Municipal Surplus Property Program for online sale.
I move to approve resolution 2025-13.
Second.
Is there any questions on the surplus? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries. Number 5, introduction of ordinance 2025-05, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024-25 budget for the town of Iowa, Louisiana. Ms. Cindy, if you can just kind of go over, this came from our auditors last year, is that correct?
This is for our last year's audit that we are completing. We have not received our audit report yet, but this is the closing part of the audit when they take all of our numbers and they make their adjustments and they find that some of the funds have to be adjusted legally you have to amend if it goes over 5% or under 5%. So in these funds, sales tax, 1, water improvement sales tax, 3, and the fire protection for the fire district went over. They did not budget their part of the expenses that they started having in rebuilding their fire stations. So we're amending that also. So, and this is an introduction, amending that last year's fiscal year.
All right. Any question?
Yeah, just for clarity's sake, like the sales tax 1 water improvement, FEMA disaster assistance, that didn't go on last year's budget, but it came on this year's budget. Isn't that correct?
Well, it was last year. Like we budgeted a lot. We budgeted that $1 million something that we thought we were going to get last year, but we didn't get it last year. We got it this year.
No, right.
So that's why.
I'm just saying that it's not like the money just disappeared out of time and space. It just slid over
Right.
the fiscal year.
Correct. Mhm.
And that's the same for sales tax 3 with the police security transit.
Yes, correct.
I don't want it to be appearance to be like, man, our numbers were $500,000 off.
No,
It
that-
just came at a different time.
it came at, yes.
Any other questions? All righty. We're going to move on to number 6. This is a motion to approve cooperative endeavor agreement with and between the town of Iowa and Coshada Tribe for the purpose of providing water and sewer services. Do you have any questions or concerns about this? Yes, ma'am.
Are they even in this parish?
No, ma'am.
Why would we supply them water? Couldn't they get it from their parish?
No, ma'am. They don't have any, there are no services right there where they're at.
And who's gonna pay for all of this and the maintenance and everything on it? What is it gonna do to our water system?
Currently, it's not going to do anything to our water system or our sewer system. What we have is, through this cooperative endeavor agreement, Coshada is paying for everything that they need to get sewer and water from us. So at the end of the day, we're going to be charging them just like we do the other businesses. And that's how we do our maintenance and upkeep on our water and sewer. So one of the things about having more people on our water and sewer is the more people we have, the more the bills are spread out. So that it could be a possibility of lowering bills. I'm not saying them by themselves. And I know we have the 71 units that are about to come online off of Highway 90. So the more people we have doing that, the easier it is to retain the rates that we have or even move them down. But this wouldn't happen without the Coshada Tribe paying for this to have it done.
We're gonna own the line.
Yes.
And that way, if they decide after so many years they wanna close down, they have to get permission from us, correct?
Well, they're-
Sell the property to another business?
Well, they can do what they please, but once it's turned over to the town, the lines belong to us. So it'll be gravity fed, so there won't be anything mechanical on their property. So the sewer lines will be gravity fed to the town of Iowa, and then at that point it'll drop into one of our lift stations. The water lines, what's really nice about the water line is that we anticipated that it was going to be around an 8-inch line going in. They're actually putting in a 12-inch water line. So that's going to be nice.
I have one more question.
Yes.
The piece of property that it's on is still in Calcasieu Parish?
No, it's a Jeff Davis.
So with them building on that piece of property, will we get the sales tax that they would if they were?
Yeah, they don't pay any sales tax whatsoever. Yeah. So even though it's not associated with the casino where they're at now, it is in the Bureau of Indian Affairs Land Management Program, which allows them not to pay taxes.
How much is it gonna cost to put that in? Tribes and pay for.
1.6 million. Yes, ma'am.
How much is it gonna cost for upkeep for us? I mean, and before you talked about water treatment and sewage treatment. What is it gonna cost us? If something goes wrong, we're gonna have to, let's say there's damage to this water line, we're gonna have to fix it if we own it. The town will.
Yes, ma'am. If there's damage to that water line, if it's not us doing the damage, somebody's gonna pay for it. As far as the equipment and the upkeep, the amount of intake we would be taking from them on the sewer side is minimal. And when I say minimal, it's minimal. On the water side of it, what it does is allows us to have that 12-inch water line further down East Miller, which will allow more businesses to come in, and it gives us the ability to have more people attached to that water line within the town limits. Any other questions?
I move to approve the CEA with and between the town of Iowa and Coachella Tribe for the purpose of providing water and sewer services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay. Number 7, we have a motion to correct a motion and vote of council dated June 9th, 2025 regarding the following promotions. And A is Austin Peliquin from Staff Sergeant, Acting Executive Officer to Lieutenant Executive Officer. B is Matt Doucette from Detective Sergeant to Detective Staff Sergeant. C is Seth Wetstein from Patrol to Sergeant, FTO. Kevin Lauer from Patrol to Patrolman First Class. Austin Sonier from Patrolman to Patrolman First Class.
I'll make that motion. Second.
We have to
What-
find out.
Let's make sure we understand what our motion is. So you want to go through this, Russ?
Yeah, so I'm coming in a little bit after the fact, because this was voted on previously. Under 33:423 Lawson Act, the process by which police officers are hired, fired, disciplined, just general action in regards to HR related policies with police officers is that the police chief makes a recommendation, and then the city council decides to accept, reject, modify, does what they see fit from there. So that's the normal process. That is what happened in June. The hiccup with that is in June, 2 of them were voted on. No real questions asked, qualms there. When the motion was made back then, I watched the video. I had talked to people. I've gone through this a little bit. When the motion was made, 2 of them were approved, no questions asked. The other ones were made subject to city attorney approval when Gene was here. And so, in my mind, I do not think the city council is the one with that authority to approve these promotions. It's not me. It's not the city attorney. And so I didn't feel like that was proper. I mean, I think a decision made by someone without the authority to do so is not a decision at all. And so I felt like it was appropriate to just visit the recommendation of the chief on these individuals and get an affirmative yes or no on each one. Where the rub in it is there's a policy about employees not receiving promotions within 90 days. I think the council is the policy at the end of the day. The police chief makes recommendations, and if the council follows policy, they follow the policy. So you could vote to make the promotion retroactive to the 91st day. You could vote to make it retroactive to the meeting itself, and we don't worry about the policy, or you just say no altogether. But at the end of the day, it is the council's decision to decide what to do. And I felt like delegating that to the city attorney was kind of this sounds, Gene's great. I'm not saying he did anything wrong at all. We're all just figuring this stuff out. To me, I wanted to make sure that the decision is made by the person that actually has the legal authority to do so.
Which would be the council.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Easy day, easy fix. My only question is, outside of a very clear like contract language or something like that, so we make a group decision, hey, we want to enter into this contract, if we said, pending final approval with language or something like that. I feel like that makes sense. If we're not going to do that, then we're going to have to adjust, some of our practices a little bit. But that being said, my ultimate question is, in the meeting setting itself, is there ever an appropriate time to say, pending
Yes,
review, and you say, yes, this is good, no, this is not?
This is a little nuanced because it is a statute that specifically says the council has that authority. You can, whenever there's something that says, the mayor does this, city attorney does this, generally speaking, the word shall means a lot in my world. And so when it says shall, that's who has to do it. This is a pretty nuanced area where I don't see this being an issue in the future. And I think, if we're talking about a CEA, for example, we can talk about the framework of it. They're going to install water lines through this area. The reimbursement's going to be this. We'll hammer out fine details in a contract that we'll vote on for final approval. I don't think there's any problem with that. If that's kind of what you're getting at. I think because this is a specific statutory thing, it kind of becomes its own animal.
If I understand correctly, there's a hard, fast rule that the council has to vote. They have to make that decision, but there's nothing wrong with asking questions.
Yeah, and
There's nothing wrong.
yes, you can ask me as many questions as you want, but on something like this, I can talk about the policy, I can talk about, the statute, I can talk about all that stuff. But the yes or no affirmatively or negatively has to come from you.
Right. So like if we were gonna, just for the sake of clarity, if we were gonna pass a blatantly unconstitutional ordinance, resolution, and I make some chaotic motion, we all agree, it's written or whatever, I see pending your review, and you're like, no, guys, that's unconstitutional. That's not gonna fly.
Yeah, so in that situation, again, the vote is ultimately with y'all. But, I'll just use an example. There's an old Supreme Court case about the right to free speech over in the 70s about people wearing armbands. And the Supreme Court ultimately upheld that it is an exercise of someone's right to free speech to wear these armbands in school. Students were doing it. The school was trying to shut it down. Supreme Court stepped in and said, you can't have that rule. It's an exercise of the right to free speech to wear these armbands. So in light of that, if Iowa, y'all wanted to pass some ordinance that said Iowa High students can't wear armbands in support of whatever the global cause is of the day, someone could make the motion and y'all could say, what do you think, Russ? And say, someone challenges this, you're going to lose in a heartbeat. But I can't stop y'all from still approving it. The vote, I can give y'all as much advice, as much, guidance, whatever. But it is y'all's vote at the end of the day.
That's a fair answer. That's clear.
So the motion, the very specific motion is what?
So just based on the issues, I would say the motion is one of three things, depending on what y'all would want to do. I think it would be a motion to approve the promotions dated as of whatever that meeting was, June 9th, I believe, regardless of what policy, just as recommended. You make a motion to do it on the 91st day following the policy, or, you know, you can make a motion to reject it. And I think those are kind of the three options I would see under the circumstances.
Do we need to do it per A, B, C, D, and E per person? Because each one had a different date.
If I think you could do it if you're going to adopt one approach, like say you're going to say we're going to make them all effective as of June. I think that can be one motion. I don't think you need to list each one specifically. If you're going to say, you know, subject or like on the 91st day, make it effective on the 91st day, then, you know, you just make it as to those that were dancing around that policy language. Or if you're going to reject it to all of them, then if y'all want to make it to each one, y'all can look at each one. But if you're going to adopt bright line rules kind of across the board, I think y'all can do that too.
So this involves the promotion plus a raise?
There
Or
is a,
just a
I
promotion?
think
No,
it is a very,
it was raise and promotion.
it's a raise and a promotion.
So each one of them have a different hire date, so the, and to me, they. So to me, if the handbook, whatever, when they agreed, whenever they were hired, they got their thing saying that, promotions or on the, in other words, you got 90 days. And then you're eligible for a promotion. That would be for promotion and salary. And if they all have different days of when it's gonna be 90 days, that's when it should go effect for each individual person, correct?
Well, I'm-
That's the standard
So-
Right.
baseline deal, but
That
we
would
have
be-
the authority to do. If we
Something
want to do
different.
it
Yeah.
sooner than that, we have that.
Y'all, the chief makes the recommendation and the policy says what it says.
Mhm.
You know, if y'all want to do it before that, y'all can do it before that. If y'all want to wait the 91 days, y'all can wait, or y'all can just say no. I mean, I think like the chief makes the recommendation and y'all decide what to do with it from there.
So my thing is if this is the policy for the police department, the town of Iowa, whether it's in the front office or the maintenance, if it's all the same, then it should be across the board, my personal opinion. So if somebody was hired tomorrow to work in the front office, the book says, so they know very good and well by reading it that it'll be 90 days before you get the promotion or pay raise or whatever it may be. That's why I'm interpreting it to be. And if you make an exception for certain ones but not the others, then what's gonna happen the next time, whether it be the town or the police department? That's just my personal opinion. It may not, be the opinion of anybody else up here, but I know I said the motion, but to me, it should be the 91st day that their promotion will go into effect, the same thing as their salary. Just like it would be if somebody in City Hall or in the maintenance department was in the same thing.
My thought is that it's a baseline, it's a starting point. If there's particular instances that justify it, then I think, like you said, we're the review board. So if chief comes with an outlandish request, then it's our responsibility to say, no, that's ridiculous. But if it's reasonable, then I think we have the obligation to say, yeah, that's reasonable based on these circumstances. And we're really only talking about, of the 5, 3 of them, it's a non-issue. If I'm doing, quick math correctly.
I don't know the names, but I believe it's 2 or 3 of them where the 90-day thing
It's
is.
just 2, and one of the 2, it's a 3-day difference between 6/9 and 6/12. So I really think conversation, again, my opinion, is based on one. And I'm in favor of doing it on the meeting date for the fact of a ton of turnover, people stepping up to the plate and filling in some gaps. I don't know, I haven't seen all of them work, but I've seen Austin work, seen Seth work, starting to train, Mr. Kevin going to the academy, flipping around and covering shifts. So I'm in favor of it for that reason. But again, do what you want with that.
Chief, you have the end.
I just wanted to say that as I said at the meeting, police department would approve a different policy for the police department. That's all I'm saying.
It's different than the town.
Different authority for the elected chief versus authority for the mayor.
I didn't realize
Different, that's all I'm gonna say.
I thought it was the same policy.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me say that.
No,
Appreciate it.
Well, the employee policy is the same. Well, y'all adopted it as the same.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Russ, can you talk on that, please?
So there's 3 different policies that I was sent. There is a standard operating procedures for the police department. There is also a more HR specific policy for the police department. And then there is what I would call like the town of Iowa's general policy. The general policy, that's, employees in this building or whatever. In my world, specific controls over the general. So to the extent that there is something in the police policy as it relates to the chief's department, then that's going to control. But that applies when there's a conflict. So if we, if the general policy says on Wednesdays we wear red, and the police policy says on Wednesdays we wear blue, police officers wear blue on Wednesdays. But if they both say you wear red on Wednesdays, there's no conflict and it doesn't matter. Or if the general policy is silent, vice versa, you only have an issue if there's a conflict. So of those, the HR specific police policy, and it makes sense, right? It applies to police officers because, they're working nights and different shifts than your average, not average, but, the people in this building that are more 8 to 5 times. And at the end of that policy, it says for any other HR related policies, please refer to the general policy is the way I phrase it. And so there is no 90-day provision in the police policy, which would be the specific one. But there is a 90-day policy in the general one. And all the officers do sign both of them. Whether, I don't know if that'll be a continuing policy, whatever, but at least in this instance, they sign both of them. So, and I did not see anything that would conflict with the 90-day requirement when I was looking at it. But again, I think the council is, at the end of the day, y'all are the policy, It's kind of like if at my firm, we have a rule that, none of the associates get bonuses until December. My counsel at work is Rusty and Jody. And if Rusty and Jody, they can have this written policy. If they decide to give us a bonus in June, we get a bonus in June. It's kind of, it's ultimately up to y'all to make that determination.
Once we make a policy for a town, whether the police department or others, we shouldn't go against it, one thing.
That's, Ms. Hennigan's made some points. Obviously, we have special cases. You never know, and you want to give everybody their due whenever they're asking for it. And I'm not a big believer in firm absolutes about things. I think sometimes special circumstances will warrant special treatment. That said, then you see the other side of the fence where what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, honestly, this is kind of like a good example. I'm probably going to use this in my business law class, but because it will be a good way to teach them about the democratic process at work. And everybody's got their 2 cents, and that's what makes things the wheels turn.
Well, I think, and there's no doubt the promotions are going to be approved. I at least get that understanding. It just comes down to the very specific. Are we doing date of the meeting 6/9? Are we doing the 91st day? Personally, I'm going to say the date of the meeting 6/9.
I just want to apologize. I did not realize that it was 2 different. The only thing I'm concerned about, and I'm okay with that, is I don't want it to be every time somebody gets hired and they hear that, oh, well, they got theirs before. It's the conflict of somebody else, and that's all I'm
The
saying.
difference is American story. You don't have to ask. You can pay whatever you want. I don't get that. That's
But if it's in the ordinance or the policy
policy.
for 90 days, let's just say for the town. I mean,
There's
to
also
me, you'd have to
clause-
wait till that 91st day. That's what I'm
There's
saying.
also 2 clauses in both of those policies that allows the mayor and the chief to make exceptions to those policies that say.
Certain parts of it, certain parts.
But the mayor does not vote. So, and again, I'd like to, if y'all don't mind, I'd like to kind of go back to what you said, Daniel, and look, I know this is probably it's gonna be hard to hear. We've made a lot of exceptions over the past. I'm not saying we shouldn't make an exception. What I'm saying is, we can talk about the properties on Sherman and Fairview, and that exception that was made and how. We've got one currently that it was brought before the council back in April, was it? That's been a year ago. It's been over a year ago where a mobile home was moved in under the understanding that the old one would be moved out once a new one came in. It's still sitting there. And now we're being told we're being mean because it's a year. We still haven't moved anything. And again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't look at a specific situation and say, yes, that is worthy. What I'm saying is that if we continue to break norms, we're going to have to do something different. If our policy is too stringent, then we need to change our policy. If it's not stringent enough, we need to change it. So, my biggest concern is we have a lot of different things that go on day to day within the administration side that we deal with, and we stick to that policy extremely close. I mean, we don't. And again, I'm not saying that the police department's trying to go around it. That's not what I'm saying. All of these hires got their raise on the 91st day. I know that for a fact. It wasn't even discussed. I had no discussion with HR on this. I didn't tell them, don't do it, do it. They went according to the handbook policy. So I think sometimes if we, and I'll go back to Chief on this, without laws, without rules and regulations, sometimes we flounder. Where are we at with our handbook policy? That's all I can say.
You make the recommendations, correct, for their
Or
promotions?
the revised statute says I'm elected, I make a recommendation, you either agree or disagree.
Okay,
That's what the law says, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
That's it.
so if you have some new hires and I don't know how to say this without it sounding silly, but if they're requesting a raise or promotion, and you, okay, well, I'm gonna let this one do it, but I'm not gonna let this one do it. That's a conflict to me.
It's not a conflict because we're a rank and file structure. So if I have a seasoned officer and I lose a command personnel, Daniel's very familiar, that's why I agree with you. You gotta replace the lieutenant. You can't just pick someone off the street and you're not gonna work for a patrolman. Hey, you gotta be able to put them in that key position, and you gotta pay them or you ain't gonna get it. And they're, that's how it is. I mean, you have to pay them for what they're doing. And this has been done, I've been a chief for almost 20 years. This has been done for almost 20 years. And it's not just done here in this municipality, it's done all over the state. When you gotta fill a void for a leadership position or mid-level management positions, it's commonly done. And the chief has the authority to go ask you, y'all agree with me, not you say yes or no. If you say no, then that's it. That's what the revised statute says. Is that correct?
No, that's it. You He has the ability to I mean, there's nothing that can remove his statutory ability to make the recommendation. You know, it's, once he's done so, you know, and it doesn't even have to be promoting somebody, it can be firing somebody, you know, if that's what he's recommended, you know, and it's really just a check and balance. It's, you know, the police chief makes the recommendation, the city council says yay, nay, modifies it as they see fit from there. And they can make it on the 10th day that they were hired. They can make it on the, you know, 360th. It did. That's just, yeah, that's how the statute works.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes. Elwood Johnson. So it seems that the recommendations came from chief because of certain extenuating circumstances. That we had almost the police department to leave, so we had to do something. We made the recommendation, and then I remember in the meeting, it was like a blanket approval. So from here going forward, are you all going to be looking at her recommendation? Because, yeah, when you go from patrolman to whatever, sergeant, you have to move with that pay rise as well. So you're looking at something that happened, circumstances that caused him, Chief Benson, to make big recommendations. You have people leaving, you have to put somebody here, because you know what, I want to be safe. That's what I want you to want to, if you would, you know, that's what we want.
If you don't mind, I'm going to ask that your first motion be to, I think it's only 2 individuals, is that correct?
Correct.
I'm going to ask that those promotions and pay raises be, that you vote to make those as of the date that the meeting was held. But I'm also going to ask the council to come back and stipulate the policy needs to be X.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to,
Circumstance and all that.
no, we need to find out if we're going to have the language that we have in our personnel policy that we require the police officers to sign off on. If we're gonna make the changes and allow that to fluctuate back and forth, we need to do something different on our policy.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
So that's something I think if we could discuss this all night long, but I think the best thing to do is just to go ahead and let's make the motion to approve based on that date. Let's be done with this. Let's put it behind us. And then let's look at our policy and see what we need to do.
Yeah.
And because if we're gonna, here's my fear is that we hold everybody to that policy. If we make an exception to it, then we're gonna have other people asking for an exception. And if we continue to do that, why have the policy?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And so why just leave it?
Why do we have a 90-day
Yeah.
rule? That to me is an arbitrary number. It's random. I think you're spot on though. We need to do a little policy review and make sure everything is the spirit of the law and the letter of the law match up.
One of the things I was going to suggest, that policy is somewhat dated, and it needs a little bit of love. And so my goal was to get through this issue and then recommend that we take another look at that. And there's some, for all of these policies, that it's just kind of when I was researching this, it kind of got into whether or not, like, they're technically employment matters are supposed to be done by ordinance. And we have an ordinance that, just adopts the general, just the policies of Iowa, which I don't know if that needs like legal standards of being a valid ordinance, that you have to refer to an extrinsic third party kind of document to figure out what your policy is. So I went to the CLE the other day and I was talking with somebody about it. Most municipalities are taking the stance where like each provision in their employment policy, they actually put into ordinance. And then that way, it's the ordinance, it applies to everyone unilaterally, and it actually can only be amended by an ordinance, like a contrary ordinance, we don't run into the problem of do we apply the policy, do we not apply the policy? We just kind of go through the channel of getting this thing all of these policies put into an ordinance that applies to every city town employee.
Well, I do think when it comes to a 90-day, that's pretty much a standard for all businesses and practices, because you want to see if that person's going to work out. So I think that we need to at least try to maintain some semblance of, how we're going to handle our employment practice. But if the police department policy needs to be separated from our general policy, that's a matter of discussion. All right. So I'd like for this thing to be put to rest. And if we can just go ahead and tend to this and make sure that, I believe it was Austin Pelican.
Austin was one of them. There was
He
another one.
was one of them, wasn't it?
It was Matt Doucette and Seth.
Oh, it was, okay, it was, okay, all right. For some reason, I thought it was Austin. Okay. Okay.
I move to correct the motion and go to the council June 9th. So effective June 9th, 2025, and promote Austin Pelican, Matt Doucette, Seth Wetstein, Kevin Lyler, and Austin Saunier.
Effective
June 9th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All right, we've taken care of that. All right, at this point, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Mayor, so I can end the stream?
Yes.
Yeah.